framed it in terms that would later be repeated in congressional hearings and editorial columns across the country. This isn't corruption, it's loyalty. Loyalty to the cartel, not to this country. Chapter 2. The Architecture of a Financial Deception. Once the physical evidence had been cataloged and the scene secured, the investigation pivoted to what would prove to be its most intricate and revealing dimension: money. The cash and drugs were visible, tangible, undeniable. But the financial network underlying the entire operation was something else entirely. A complex, multi-layered apparatus that had been constructed with considerable intelligence and patience over many years. Designed specifically to move enormous sums of illegal money through legitimate banking systems without triggering scrutiny. Inside the FBI Task Force's temporary field office in Atlanta, agents and forensic accountants gathered around workstations loaded with hard drives seized from Hale's residence. Among the files recovered was one labeled Ledger 6Y, Legal Consultancy. When the decryption software finally rendered it readable after hours of processing, what appeared on screen was a long, painstakingly structured financial record. Consulting fee, $420,000. Vendor, Curasol Holdings BV. Research services, $195,000. Vendor, Panama Equity SA. Each line corresponded to a transfer routed through Hale's personal account at a Delaware financial institution. Each vendor name appeared legitimate at first glance. Each transaction was categorized in language that evoked the mundane, respectable world of professional services. None of it was real. Over the course of 6 years, forensic accountants traced $41.7 million moving through 47 shell corporations, registered across Delaware, Panama, and offshore jurisdictions. None of these companies maintained physical offices. None employed a single worker. None produced a tangible product or rendered a genuine service. They existed solely to perform a single function: to receive dirty money, apply the language of legitimate commerce to it, and release it on the other end as apparently clean revenue. The flow was structured carefully to avoid triggering the reporting thresholds monitored by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Roughly $2 million moved per quarter through each node, enough to sustain the operation at scale, but calibrated to remain beneath the waterline of automated surveillance. Transaction labels cycled through a rotation of terms: legal consulting fees, policy research, attorney training, economic analysis. As one investigator put it with weary precision, from the outside, this man looked like a judge making smart professional investments. On the inside, he was running a machine that laundered blood money, and he was running it from a courthouse. The financial architecture had a beating heart at its center: Meridian Equity Group, a company founded by Hale 8 years prior and registered under a rented mailbox address in Marietta, Georgia. From Meridian's accounts, approximately $2 million flowed outward every quarter. When agents cross-referenced those transaction dates against Hale's personal calendar, they found a pattern of near-perfect alignment. Every large transfer corresponded to a calendar entry marked in innocuous terms: golf, lunch, case review. When those same calendar entries were cross-checked against bank statements from 12 local government officials and 3 senior law enforcement officers, over $8.3 million was found to have left an intermediary account within hours of those meetings. The transaction notes accompanying each transfer contained only 2 words: retainer cleared. FinCEN analysts, brought in to review suspicious activity reports filed between 2018 and 2024, identified more than 260 filings that shared the same linguistic fingerprint: legal advisory, retainer, research, consulting. Each had been filed, reviewed, and effectively set aside, not because analysts had been corrupted, but because the network had been constructed to mimic the perfectly ordinary rhythms of professional financial activity. The system had not failed. It had been gamed methodically and expertly by someone who understood it from the inside. Chapter 3: The Digital Thread. When physical and financial evidence had been secured and cataloged, the investigation moved into a third domain: digital forensics. Hale's office computer was transported to the FBI's technical laboratory at Quantico, Virginia. The drive was protected by triple-layer encryption, but investigators found the password written in a note on his phone: Justice Syro 1, and after 8 continuous hours of decryption work, the system yielded its contents. Among the files was a spreadsheet named Q1 Logistics. Each row represented a shipment. Columns recorded the date, the cargo weight, a coded product label, the intended destination, and in the final column, the word that made the room go quiet: cleared. When agents cross-referenced those entries against federal customs records, 19 of them aligned precisely with container arrivals at the ports of Savannah and New Jersey over a 14-month period.